Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Judy.
Gary Bailey.
Here.
John Dooley.
Here.
Deborah Potter. Kevin Whipple.
Here.
Bill Ernstis.
Present. Okay, approval of the agenda. There's a couple things that I've added to it. Down under Don Tribbett, John's going to report for him, plus we're going to have an executive meeting on the 6th of October at 5 o'clock. And under Jerry Scheidler, about a mower. Any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Or to the agenda? If not, I'll accept a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes? If they have, I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the last meeting. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved. John, the financial report, please.
Okay. Financial report for the Greensburg Municipal Airport. We have the three separate accounts. In our airport improvement account, the balance is $220,209.45. In the aviation rotary fuel account, $87,857.67. And in the airport operations account, $406,889.15. The total of all three of those accounts combined, $719,956.27.
Okay.
There was a, here being at the first of the month, we've not yet had a report on the August fuel sales and the tax accordingly, so, yeah.
You'll have that tomorrow, but we won't need it. Okay. Update on construction, Mr. Paul Schaefer.
We'll do the construction update before we go through these action items. So Jerry and Bill and the team were all in meetings today. Progress meeting, there was a new progress meeting besides the summary that I emailed out that just happened today, and then a kickoff meeting for the next phase. So the grade and drain progress meeting, from my understanding, is HIS is not going to be done at the end of August like they thought, but they think they'll be done basically next week. Our people think they'll be done the following week. They don't think they'll make even next week. And then once they're done, we need to, we're going to survey it, and then actually Dave O'Mara is going to survey it as well, and then HIS is going to survey it. So there'll be plenty of surveying. All three surfaces will be checked in the computer against proposed, so we can see whether they hit the right grades for the end. And we want to do that before we turn it over to O'Mara, because we don't want O'Mara to get out there and start and then figure out that we're way off on a certain grade. So that'll probably take about another week. So realistically speaking, O'Mara really couldn't have the site until October 1st. October 1st is convenient from the tree trimming aspect because we can't trim before October 1st, so they will be able to go ahead and get started on the tree trimming. It's not very convenient though when it comes to the soil stabilization and the paving, because they want, if they start the soil stabilization, they want to be able to put the first lift of asphalt on top of it to protect it for the winter. They don't think there's enough time, and we also agree with that. So at this point in time, the soil stabilization then would start in the springtime, probably around April 1st. So we'll start the contractual clock on April 1st, whether they start or not, because that's when, by contract law, we can start the clock. But we are going to basically, our plan is to give them free time. From now until April 1st, we will not count contract days against them. So if they wanna get out there and get work done, they're more than, they can do that. Which, will only be to our advantage, because the more they can get done, the earlier we can finish. But if we start the contract time on, April 1st, the, date to substantial completion is 150 calendar days. So that would put substantial completion August 29th of 2023 is when contractually they will be required to be complete. So we're probably looking at ribbon cuttings and so forth like that right before Labor Day next year, or basically this time next year. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we won't put those on the calendar just yet, but I'm optimistic. Dave O'Meara is very motivated to get in and out. I'm hoping that we can see maybe a late July or earlier August if we get lucky and have great weather in the spring and so forth like that. That would be fantastic. But that's the optimist. I would be prepared for a September open, realistically speaking. But the good news is we're talking opening, so which is a long way, and I'm excited to talk opening. So appreciate everybody's patience. Hang in there 12 more months, and we'll get this thing opened up. So,
Very educational day.
Yeah.
Just to O'Meara what they have to do and to be sure that they do it and do it right.
Yeah, I mean, the grading obviously is important, but we want to make sure we get a nice, stable sub-base for that runway. You're going to be living with it for a long time, so it needs to be right, and we don't want to rush them through the fall weather just to get something open, only to, in a couple of years, have problems because we've rushed the soil stabilization or something like that. So it makes sense to take your time and do it right, because this is going to be a community asset for a long, long time to come, longer than any of us will be around, hopefully. So,
One of the things that was mentioned, they are going to put a gate up at the entranceway off of the bypass.
sure, yeah. Yeah, that, and actually I sent as an FYI item, it's item 5 on your status report updates, the State Road 3 obstruction lights. If you'll recall, a few months ago, we talked about NDOT was making some intersection improvements with the railroad and the signals and all that, and they had some new lights that were going in. Those new lights are obstructions to the current runway, the existing runway. And so they have to put red obstruction lights on there, and they asked the airport if you would be willing to maintain those, and our initial response was no. But we said if you would allow us to convert our temporary construction access drive into a permanent field access drive for airfield maintenance down the road, then we might reconsider, and they did. And so that's not, we don't have that permit, but we have the email chain saying, yes, they'll do that, so long as we gate it so that the community just can't drive. It's not a public road, it's just for airport use. And so a condition of that was to put a gate up, and so I think in the pre-construction meeting today, there was discussion of putting barriers up for the winter to keep people out, and they said, well, why don't we just go ahead and put the gate in? So I think they will put the gate in. And that'll satisfy NDOT's request, and then we'll get the permit there. But we did get the signed maintenance agreement back, so that obstruction light, I believe, is going in this fall. And so that light will be on there. Based on when we open the new runway, our exposure on maintenance on that light should be 1 year. So when we open the new runway, we won't need the light on anymore, so we can just turn it off at that point in time if it breaks. So that's really project updating. We obviously have some FAA reimbursements and some payments to HIS and some initial payments on the new grant as well to run through action items. But are there any questions on status of project?
Is there a date that HIS incurs damages for not being done, or?
That's past tense.
And So are we withholding that then, or?
So what we withheld, retainage. That does exceed the amount of the damages right now, but the damages continue to compound. So, and we basically won't assess the damages until they're done, because it keeps, every day they're not done, a new day of damages goes out. Let's see, I don't even know what the number's at. It's well north of $100,000,
It
right?
was $150,000 a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
They're aware of that, I assume.
Yeah, they're aware of it. Right, they're definitely aware of it. Yeah, and how much we actually get to assess and so forth will be interesting. We'll just have to see how that all sorts out contractually, but, I mean, you know, they've gotten quite a few, well over 45 rain days in there too, so it could be a lot worse for them. The weather has given them a lot of extra days in their contract as well, so we'll see how that goes, but obviously which this is a nice segue into the finances, because we have reached the 90% drawdown mark on the first grade and drain grant, which the FAA only allows you to draw down 90%, and then they do basically a closeout look at the finances to make sure everything's in order, so they stop you from drawing down. So we're crossing that threshold now, which means instead of from the time you approve the payment before the 90%, you'd have it in 3 days. So now the FAA looks at each one of those, and the first one will take a little bit of time, probably 3 weeks to a month to get it through, because Victor's going to go through and check all of the stuff from the past. So we got to go through that. We also have that amendment request that we approved quite a while ago. It's been up with Victor as well. So at this point in time, you know, the community is cash flowing that cash until we get that. So I'm hoping it's probably 4 to 8 weeks, and then we'll be able to get that at least the 10% down. And then the amendment, they're talking amendments in November. So it could be towards the end of November by the time we get the amendment money in. So that's where we're at on cash flow. I think we do have, you know, since there was no matches and things like that, we've made out pretty good from a cash standpoint on the bond that we're using the cash flow of the project. So I think we're in a good position there. But we are transitioning out of that first grade and drain grant, and then going to be into the Dave of Merit grant next. So that's where we're at. So we've got two basically FAA pay applications and one contractor's pay estimate to pay HIS. So the first AIP 16 partial pay request application number 16 to the FAA in the total amount of $252,000, which is 100% federally funded, but that takes us up to 90% of the total grant amount right there. So that'll be take us up to that level. You'll notice on the next action item, the amount we're paying HIS contractors is $377,376.65. So if you do that math, it's about $125,000 that's being floated until we get the auditing done on the last 90% of the grant. So motion, the first action item is to get that $250,000 into your bank account.
I make a motion, we submit AIP 16, partial pay number 16 to the FAA for a total amount of $252,000.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
On that second motion there, Paul,
Yep.
at 377 is 376.65.
Yeah.
That's not a final payment, correct?
Oh, no. No.
Okay, so we do have money held back that we can get damages if we do need to go into that.
Yeah. this, we're still well under the even contract completion, but the retainage to date that's been held is $210,465.22. We're at 4.2 million total, and the total grant is 4.5. So we got another 300,000-ish of dollars to draw down, plus you're holding 200,000. So we got $500,000 in
After
money.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the contractor's progress estimate number 12 for HIS in the amount of $377,376.65.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And the third item is the motion on to submit AIP number 20, partial pay application number 4. And we've been drawing on this a little bit, but this is these were all of the bidding and procurement grant administration fees to get up to where we're at with Dave O'Mara. So those are basically fees to wrap up all of our professional services that we incurred earlier in the year. We just hadn't turned them in until we actually got to the reconstruction kickoff meeting, which was going on today.
I'll make a motion to submit AIP 20 partial pay request application number 4 to the FAA for the total amount of $25,096.72.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And then I failed to mention this bipartisan infrastructure law, that they are starting to push some of those dollars out, and likely your dollars is $159,000. It's probably going to be put towards that amendment request. So, unfortunately, that's the case. Otherwise, we'd buy you a lawnmower or something. All right. Anything else for me? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Trivett?
I'll just report what Don Tribbett's had some communication with us and the status of what he's doing. He said in this terms of both the Beggs and the Haston properties that he's got agreements in principle with those property owners, and they're working about getting it down in writing and signed. Of course, it's not finished until it's signed, but they've got a verbal agreement on what's going on there. In the Robbins Trust, he's set a trial date there for December 5th, and they both filed for documents from each other. But that's, of course, that, as you know, that may or may not happen as far as a trial date, but he set a trial date of December 5th for them. In the Steve Lowe property, which is about the aviation easement, which kind of what we've just talked about here, there's just yesterday, the court appointed appraisers for that aviation easement. So that'll still take time. They are not, the appraisers won't be sworn in apparently till September 13th. They'll do their appraisal. They've never been very quick about it, but they're still plugging along trying to get that settled for the aviation easement on this Lowe property so we can trim those trees. And that's all I have from Mr. Trivett.
Okay, and then we're having an executive meeting on October the 6th at 5 o'clock in the class conference room. Okay, John Clare, he's not here. Mr. Scheidler.
Well, things at the airport are pretty much normal. The hangars are still full, and we got a waiting list. We have replenished our fuel supply for both jet fuel and higher low lead here, and price came down a little. So we've had some compliments from purchasers that they appreciate us thinking of them. But we're just doing our normal thing, you know, we base what we sell the fuel for compared to what it costs us. So, but going another direction, Bill and I talked about this a little. We think it's about time we look at getting a large mower to pull behind the big tractor to take care of some of this growth that's out there on the new areas. So I guess I'm just gonna let you guys think, see what you wanna do, but, I did go around to the local dealers here, and there's nothing sitting on a lot that's available in our area. So that leaves, I have not talked to anyone, I don't know, I guess I'm getting your input. Should I go and talk about ordering something new and see what we can get, or?
Yeah. You're talking about a pull behind bush hog sort of operation?
Yeah, rather
Yeah.
large, you know, we got
Yeah.
a 150 horse tractor, and based on that horsepower, what they would think that tractor would handle, you know, I'm saying, you know, maybe in the 20-foot range or something. You know, a bat wing type mower that could follow the curvature of the ground, you know, in uneven areas and so on. So, if that's favorable to the board members, I'd go ahead and see what I can find out about that. I can pursue that.
I'd be in favor of that.
We almost bought one a few years ago. Bill
Yeah.
had one that all lined up, but the board didn't approve it at the time. Yeah.
And they're more expensive now than they were.
Yeah, everything's went up a bunch.
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question, have you checked with any of the dealers, will 150 horse carry a 20-foot?
Well, that's what I say, I would go with their recommendations for
You
a
have not
150
got
horse
his
tractor.
recommendations yet, though.
I have not talked to them any of them yet, you know, but I would go with that information. We got this big a tractor, what would be recommended? We're not looking at cutting down heavy duty stuff, though. We're basically gonna be mowing grass and weeds, you know?
Yeah, you obviously wouldn't let it get 6 foot tall or anything like
No,
that.
well, I think, you know, there's some regulations near a runway of how tall stuff can be, so. So when we don't have to have I think, when we looked into this a few years ago, you know, that they got different duty, heavy duty or lighter duty, and we could go with a lighter duty mower, bush hog, because we're not gonna be cutting down 4-inch trees. You know, we're gonna be basically mowing grass and weeds, so that should reduce the cost a little over something really heavy.
I think you need a motion, but I'd go ahead and get some information.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, I think.
Bring it back.
I would get some information. I know you're saying light duty, but if you want something to last, you might want to think about medium duty at least. I mean,
Well, I don't know, I just see what's available, you know, I don't know, there may be more than two different, you know, levels, I don't know.
I don't know if we need heavy duty, but
If you go looking at, I mean, had some brochures from a few years ago, it's heavy duty, they're talking, you know, you go out there and cut down 4-inch trees.
right,
I
that's
don't
what I'm
think
saying.
we
I
need
don't-
anything
I don't
like
think
that.
we need anything like that, no. But just for longevity, I mean, you know, a lot of times you buy something that's light duty, it is light duty.
Well, yes, I agree, you know, I would want to have some assurance that this light duty, you know, it only cuts down 2-inch trees, so still way
Well-
way more than we need.
Yeah, but I don't think you're gonna find that, but whatever, I'm just saying, you know, for longevity's sake, I wanna look at light and medium.
Well, I can bring all the information to you guys, and you guys can make the final decision.
bring us some numbers.
All right.
There you go, that'll work.
All right,
Okay,
all right.
thank you. Approval of bills. Everybody had a chance to look at the bills? John, you got any?
Yep, just nothing too out of hand here. Looks like normal expenditures, put them in this spreadsheet as we always do right here. Well, one thing that kind of came to mind, just a curiosity, about 7 rows down is Decatur County REMC, and I looked at those over the past, it was put in here over the past 14 months. Every bill was 0.00 cents. Seems kind of odd, or I don't know what to think about or what to make of that, but there's no, I don't know if they're doing estimates or what's
They
going
do
on.
a roundup, John.
Is it a roundup?
Yeah,
Is that what they do?
The dollar is rounded up to the next dollar.
Okay,
And we can change that and not have it done that way.
that's
But-
okay.
But if you don't request it, they round it up to the next
Is
dollar.
that way, okay, I wondered why it was like that. Okay. Otherwise, that's how they're listed, and if there's not any other discussion with the bills, I'll move we pay the bills as listed before us. Only thing on there is not the water bill, it's September 1st, we don't have the water bill yet.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
He made the motion, you're the second.
Oh, I'm second, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, all those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Any comments from the audience? Anybody? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn till October the 6th.
I will make that motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.